and welcome to Diecast Restos for this restoration of a Corgi Juniors Whizzwheels 46a Jensen Interceptor. They initially launched as a Corgi Rockets model in 1969, but it was then offered as a Juniors model from 1970. It had initially been intended to be released as a husky casting. They were available new until 1973. My example is looking dirty, paint chipped and play worn. Here is how a turquoise interceptor like mine should appear. And this is a real Mark I Jensen Interceptor. The Interceptor was a Grand Tourer built by Birmingham firm Jensen Motors between 1966 and 1976. Having extensively used glass reinforced plastic in the preceding 2 decades, the Interceptor saw the firm return to using steel body shells. It was designed by Italian coach builder Carrozzeria Touring Superleggera. The styling was reminiscent of the Brazilian Brasinca Uriapuru, which had gone out of production the same year the Interceptor launched. They shared the same large wraparound rear window that doubled as a tailgate, which is so distinctive on the Interceptor. Original specs of the Interceptor included electric windows, reclining front seats, a wood-trimmed steering wheel, clock, radio with twin speakers, and from 1968 power steering as standard. The Interceptor was powered by a 6.2 litre Chrysler V8 initially, with a 7.2 litre available from 1971. In order to meet US regulations, the interior had an overhaul in 1969, as well as the addition of an air conditioning option. This 1969 update was dubbed the Mark II, and also featured minor exterior styling upgrades to the grille, headlamps, front bumper and tail lights. The Mark III launched in 1971, coinciding with the engine upgrade. It again received a restyled grille, headlamps and bumpers, plus revised seats, air conditioning as standard, and new alloy wheels. By 1976, however, Jensen had suffered the effects of the global recession and were placed into receivership. Production continued until all available inventory was exhausted. Despite production ceasing, a group of investors trading under a new company called Jensen Cars Limited reintroduced the Interceptor in low volumes in the 80s. These were sold as the Series 4 and were visually very similar to the last of the original Interceptors. But these had a smaller 5.9 litre Chrysler V8 and had a revised interior. This arrangement lasted until the early 90s. There were several different variants of the Interceptor, including a convertible available from 1974 and a short run of coupes. The convertible saw 267 vehicles produced, mostly for the US market, while just 60 coupes were made. These lacked the distinctive rear glass as the body was derived from the convertible. Most notable though was the 1967 Jensen FF. FF stood for Ferguson Formula, who invented the car's 4-wheel drive system. It made it the first non-all-terrain production car to feature 4-wheel drive and an anti-lock braking system. It was visually very similar to the Interceptor, but it was 5 inches (127mm) longer. It has an additional side vent that distinguishes it from the Interceptor. 320 of these were built until 1971. Even though Jensen's primary markets were overseas, the car was never built in right-hand drive. This was because the transfer case and prop shafts both impeded the left-hand front seat, with the steering, gearing and brake servo on the right. This would have made it very difficult and very expensive to swap to left-hand drive. As a result, the FF was never offered for sale in the US. But a brief word on the casting as I finish up. Original Juniors castings were painted burgundy with the yellow interior and blue windscreen. New wheels were then fitted and a rare red interior could briefly be found. Before the casting was changed to metallic green, a short run of deep orange models were produced. Some metallic green cars had clear glazing, something I'd love for a custom one of these. Also, on the Rockets models, the opening doors were cast shut. Now here's how the Corgi Juniors Jensen Interceptor looked earlier on. I was a bit unsure what to do with this dirty and paint-worn casting. That was until I learned some had a clear windscreen. I thought to myself, a custom would look miles better with a clear window piece, so I'll keep my eyes peeled for one of those and instead try to faithfully restore this one. So now we're ready to see the final reveal of 2022. And here it is in a gorgeous coat of pearl green. It's lighter than it originally appeared, but I'm not too concerned as it isn't miles off. In fact, I think this shade better complements the blue tint of the window and the yellow of the interior. I've tried to preserve the stunning rear window as best I could, though it's still a little rough along the exposed edges. I have realigned the doors so they sit better within the casting, plus I've polished up the base that also serves as the grille and headlights. So that's it for this year. I'll be back next year with more restorations, but it's a really fun custom next week that I'm dying to show you. Make sure you're subscribed to be notified of my releases, and why not join up on Patreon to see previews of the next builds. But all that leaves me to say is thank you for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one next year. Happy New Year and bye for now.